Well, here we go again. And unlike the Cliffs of Moher, we did survive the Spring Carnival. And welcome back to another Titus and Sergio Variety Hour podcast. I'm Sergio Paradise, and here he is, a bloke who's never been penalised for overdoing the whip. It's Titus O'Reilly.
I like the cheery start.
The death of a racehorse. Yeah. What better way to kick things off?
Beautiful stuff. And how have you been? Travelling well?
Yeah, travelling beautifully. Well, I'm looking very much to the draft next week.
Oh, is there anything more exciting?
There's been a bit of a lull. I mean, this is the problem with the Spring Carnival. It takes the emphasis away from the draft and trading.
Oh, nothing more exciting too than hearing everyone's opinions about a bunch of kids they've never seen.
They've never played.
They've seen YouTube clips. I love that with Hoogie Authority. I mean, there are those few people out there who have gone and watched all these guys play, but you're still,
you know. And I always love the phrase they say, in any other year, he'd be a top tenner.
Is it a strong draft this year?
Oh, it's a super draft.
It is a super draft,
I think they're saying it could rival the 2001 super draft.
Right.
Which was, I think, the Luke Hodge year.
Yeah, that's exciting.
Yeah, it is. Until most of these kids get delisted.
Exciting for Hawthorn, bad for
months.
Freo. Now, it's been an exciting few weeks with the Spring Carnival. I've been travelling around promoting my book, so sorry to everyone who's seen me on media 1,000 times, as exciting as that is.
Strolling down Media Street, as we said last week.
Yeah, that's right. I did...
What's your latest on that? Your latest Media Street appearance.
I did the project which was fun. I did that twice because they asked me to come and comment on, there's a campaign you'd like this, there's a campaign in New South Wales, which is, it's called the Shush, I think Shush for Kids campaign, which is aimed at...
I don't even know. I like it already.
Well, you won't want to know what it is. So the idea is parents who, so kids sport, parents there who abuse players or the umpire, or you say it's a campaign to stop that. So a worthy campaign.
Yeah.
But what they're proposing is that you shush the parent. So some parents going off his chops.
So
and I say he because it will be a him.
Yeah.
It could be a woman, I guess.
Oh, look, trust me, it's 99.8%
the blokes?
Idiot blokes.
Right. Yeah. So did you see the guy pushed his kid, who's the goalie? The kid was a junior soccer match, and
the kid is
there's a
standing
shot at goal.
No idea what's doing.
No idea, and the dad pushes him into the ball.
Stops the ball, then another kid just bangs it straight past him into the back of the net. So the
idea is you just shush the parents. So how well do you reckon that's going to work?
Oh, that's going to go well.
How many broken noses is this going to result in?
Well, this is the thing. It's going to cause more violence than it avoids.
That's what I reckon.
Because it's all very well trying to stop idiot fathers, let's be honest, yelling abuse at either their own kids or kids from the other team.
Yeah.
But as soon as you start mouthing off to blokes who are liable to do that, it's going to be on for young and old.
And shushing, though, as well. Like to go, calm down, mate.
Yeah, mate, pull your head in. They're kids. The umpire's a kid, for Christ's sake.
Yeah. But to just go, shh.
Yeah.
Has shushing ever made any situation better?
It takes me back to school days when you're in the library.
Oh, yeah.
When you kids, shush in the corner. And then you'd rattle your books or your pencil case just to annoy them. So I don't.
And that's become your business model for life. Just doing things to annoy people. Anyway, so that was I'm talking about that. And I was the guy saying that it was stupid.
Yeah.
Like he was the.
Did anyone tell you to shush?
No, really? Luckily not. But I was the guy that was like campaigns to stop kids from being bullied at sport is stupid. Also, how are we going to prepare them for the cauldron of, the Perth, the new Optus Stadium in Perth? That is loud. Like, there's nothing. We need to probably, if anything, the parents that aren't abusing the kids need to lift.
Yeah, because, it can be quite rightly argued that nearly every kid at junior level will not make it to the big league. But for those that do, they need to harden up a bit.
They do. And the ones that perhaps they're not making it because they're being too encouraged, a bit of adversity, a bit of grit in their life,
Exactly.
God, they're lucky their dad showed up to anything.
Well, there's that. I have known the odd kid who'd be more than happy if dad didn't show up.
Well, yeah, I've known a few people who legally their dad can't be within 100 metres of that many kids. So,
I've known a few where the dad is not actually the dad. Also, but we'll leave that for another time.
I have heard that about you. And hello to Prince Harry if you're listening. So this morning as I was driving around the car and I was flicking between all the radio channels and as I do because they all bore me to tears and I'd forgotten to plug my iPad in, or my iPhone in and listen to something. Listen back to this podcast.
Do you ever listen back to them?
No. I used to occasionally just when we started out just to see how it was going, but
yeah, I reckon
I've sort of heard them once.
Yeah, 2 years ago was the last time.
Although I must say, like, the more you do stuff that's like, the more you have to like. I had to record the book of the audio book of I had to record that. And there's a point you get to where when most people when you hear back your voice, it sounds terrible.
Yeah.
There's a point where you kind of, I reckon, I've sort of just got used to it. I don't love it, but I don't hate it. I don't cringe like I used to. I'm just kind of indifferent.
The few times I've listened back to this podcast,
other people say they cringe when they hear me.
I go, I have no recollection of even saying that.
Well, that's when your lawyers. That's when your lawyers are talking to you. Well, you sort of go into a fugue state, and this is just you just spitting out stream of consciousness.
I simply don't recall having said that until they press play.
Officer. Yeah. I do not recall saying that, officer. So as I'm driving in, I happen to flick onto the Hot Breakfast with Eddie Maguire.
Right.
And I don't really listen to morning radio, to be honest, that much. So usually I'm hungover in bed. And he was railing against this proposal that Sydney are bringing, for those that don't know, to the competition committee, which is meeting, I think, today, saying that, being a Thursday, saying that they're pushing a case for a best of 3 AFL grand final.
So the Swans are
pushing
right
this. Yeah, right on it. Andrew Ireland then.
What's in it for the Swans? Because they know this ain't going to get up.
I think so. If someone just said to me, "There's different things at play that I think is kind of behind this," where so a lot of people are just focusing on, "Oh, how stupid is it to have best of 3 grand final, right?" And some people are debating the merits of that, yes or no, and all that. And some people say, "Oh, it'd be actually okay," and others are saying, "Stupid," right? Whatever. What's really happened is the AFL, with from what I hear, very little consultation with anyone. And the Vic government just did a deal where they go, hey, we're just locking up the grand final venue till 2057.
Yeah, it's going to be Melbourne till 2057.
And so this is the Swans, and I know a lot of the other clubs feel interstate. The non-Victorian teams feel very like,
any danger, we have a bit of a say in that.
Yeah, like they didn't even get really consulted. And also it's for so long, it's to 2057. So it's like, hey, for the rest of your lives, basically, it's never going to be anywhere else.
It's hard to believe the AFL would introduce something without consultation.
Yeah, amazing. Now, that's why I think they're pushing it more to make the point, I think they genuinely think it's unfair and therefore this would be a compromise solution. But I think if you actually went to Sydney and Adelaide and West Coast and all those teams and said, what model should we have if it was a blank slate? They'd all say a grand final that rotates like the Super Bowl does with bids in advance for where it's going to be.
Yeah. Or even your highest finishing club. If West Coast finish on top, you'd have that argument that they deserve a game in Perth more than in Melbourne.
I can understand why, if GWS win, they can't really have a final at Spotless. I think Sydney have problems with the SCG is pretty old and the capacity is not big enough. Although the capacity is okay, it's not huge, and especially because a lot of it's coming from
nobody
TV.
Goes to anything in Sydney anyway.
Yeah. Then you've got, but when you go and look at the new Adelaide Oval and the
Perth Oval,
the stadium,
yeah.
I know they're not as big as the MCG in terms of seating, but in terms of great venues and all the services and the various things that it has. You can't say, both of those stadiums are nicer stadiums than the MCG.
Yeah.
Like by a fair bit now.
Right. So
Because the MCG, the Southern Stand especially, it comes across massively dated.
Yeah, it's looking a bit tired, isn't it?
Yeah, but
on the rare occasion that I have to sit there.
And the atmosphere in that Perth stadium is amazing.
Yeah.
And same with Adelaide Oval. So to me, I think this is just a reaction.
It's a bit of an ambit claim.
It's an ambit claim to draw attention to something. It's a solution they're offering that I think they're only putting in as since you've gone and done this, and it can't be moved, well, then let's try and have an attempt at making it fair. And I don't think, as much as I'm parochial about, I'm a Melbourne supporter. Being in grand finals is a bit irrelevant, but it suits me to a T that it's at the MCG. But you look at this year, it is unfair. You look at this year, the grand final saw Collingwood host it in their home game. I know they went technically on paper, but basically they finished below the Eagles, and the Eagles have to fly over here and play them on the game that Collingwood get to play, the grand Collingwood get to play week in, week out.
Do you reckon that the interstate teams would be coming out swinging a bit more if Collingwood had won this year?
Oh, yes, I think they would.
Yeah, I reckon they would.
That's, but no one's saying, hey, look, it's impossible for interstate teams to win. They're just pointing out that there is a massive disadvantage in place and that the AFL is meant to be a national competition. And then, there's a simmering thing here.
The draw.
But there's a simmering thing here about the fact that the AFL remains very Victorian-centric on a lot of key issues. And you look at the fact that, and I know they're addressing some of these, but you look at things like the fact that the Showdown and the Derby were like buried in terrible time slots.
Yeah.
You had Carlton and other Melbourne-based teams because they've historically got big numbers. Even no matter how terrible they are, getting way better runs on Friday and prime time and things like that. So, there's a genuine anger, and you can't, if you're being completely as neutral as possible, you can't say that they're wrong, like the out of Victoria, the non-Victorian teams are wrong. They've got legit, they do a lot of travel. Now, I know they get benefits if going and playing them there is hard. But if you had to set up a team from scratch tomorrow in this competition, and I said, where would you base it? You'd say Melbourne at the MCG.
Yeah, of course you would.
Because you'd play, 10 to 15 games there every single year, plus all the key finals. There's a good chance. There's a good chance if you finish in the top, if you're finishing at home field. But even if you don't, the odds of you playing a lot. Melbourne didn't finish top 4, and we still played Hawthorn and Geelong.
At the G.
Before having
Friday
the travel.
night's prime time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, you kind of look at, the game, and people go, oh, Melbourne weren't as good on the MCG this year as at other places and all that. I know all of those, but there's just I think there is a strong case. Now, I don't know if I really, part of me actually doesn't mind the best of 3. And the only reason I say that is, I love a series, like you watch the World Series or the Stanley Cup or the NBA Finals, and you get these really nice storylines all the way through that run through it that I find interesting. And those sports tend to lend themselves to anyone can win any individual game. Yeah. You don't get a lot of
NBA and stuff like that, they're the sort of sports where they can back up and play 3 games in a week if need be.
That's right. So you're not spreading it across like a month. You're actually
and then there is that, and they do like the state of origin rugby league here. Yeah. If it goes down to the 3rd game, it sort of adds another level of excitement to that 3rd game.
That's right.
I get all that, but it's just traditionally, big sporting events, it's a winner take all kind of thing. Well, especially in an unpredictable
contact sport. For that reason, because what are you going to do? Play? Yeah, it runs for 3 weeks. There's a danger that if one side's a lot better, they smash them in the first game. The second game loses a lot of interest, and they win the second. You've sort of had a pretty. People say, well, that was an anticlimax.
Start resting players for the 3rd,
and they wouldn't even play the 3rd if they'd wrapped that up in 2. So and then. The other, so I don't totally hate it, but what I don't like is I kind of do. Well, what I do like about the current model is there's something about it's this one day where there's everything to play for. It's a day like no other every year. You know,
exactly.
It's the whole day is
never going to change to a best of three.
No, I know.
Could
I
you
don't
imagine
think there's any danger.
3 weeks in a row of the Black Eyed Peas?
Yeah, well, that's right.
How good would that be?
I think 3 weeks of AFL halftime entertainment's enough to put anyone off.
Mike Brady might be getting a bit hoarse by week 3.
And the cost. I mean, imagine if it goes to 3 games and your team's in it. You're spending that's your mortgage on a house. You're spending on
3 games.
On going.
It would be interesting to see if the crowd dipped off. It was like when St Kilda played Collingwood in the replay.
Yeah.
It was a smaller crowd than the week before.
Yeah. Also, a lot of people had plans to go elsewhere and stuff too.
Yeah.
But it was
and
strange.
You can't have a come for 3 weeks and cross over into the Caulfield Guineas. You couldn't have that.
But I mean, all I'm saying is I don't agree with this solution they've put forward, but I think they've only put this solution forward because a more realistic solution, which is to rotate 1 game around the country, has been cut off from them with no discussion.
Yeah.
And I think they're making a point as much as anything else.
Exactly.
I don't think,
but
like you say,
Don Pike was the first. He came out swinging on this too, not too long ago.
Yeah, that's right. And
the Swans have got on board now, but it was Don Pike who was, and instead...
if you said, the next 5 grand finals are going to be in Perth, can you imagine the Victorian teams?
Oh, you imagine the outcry, yeah.
I mean, just would be...
It's hard enough to get a ticket even when it's in Melbourne,
Yeah. So that's the thing. And I love when when I was over in Perth, like a lot of Melbourne supporters going, oh, gee, it's tough getting over there and getting a ticket. And every Eagles supporter's going, welcome to every year.
We do this every year, yeah.
And, Toby Green's got an injury with a troublesome ankle injury, it says. You ever have a non-troublesome ankle injury? I guess it could be a helpful ankle injury.
Well, young Toby, he's... trouble just finds Toby Green, doesn't it?
Right.
Whether it's his fault or not.
Apparently he's going to be on light duties at training. He's had to have until Christmas. He's had to have surgery. This was after he injured it last year in the semi-final, loss to Collingwood. He played on. They
haven't actually come out and said what the problem is, have they? They've
got a leg injury, so it's as vague as anything.
Could be anything from a stubbed toe to
They said that the injury
a spiral fracture of his femur
had failed to improve at the rate expected. Well,
right, you could say that about a lot of players.
It sounds like they just got it wrong, but anyway, it does read like that. But you'd understand that I'm not a doctor.
There's not too many medical degrees in this room.
Not even close. What I found really interesting here was it says the Giants fitness boss David Joyce said how unfortunate it was, and then he said, no doubt once the surgery's been completed, Toby will vigorously attack his rehab.
Oh, what, with his foot out?
I was about to say, you don't want to use the phrase vigorously attack.
No, not in the same phrase as Toby Green.
Absolutely amazing. I got to say one thing that's they got a win in the one day, the men in Australian cricket.
Yeah.
But then they handed in another terrible performance.
I watched a bit of that game actually.
Yeah.
And I've got to say, I don't know whether you'll agree with this, but it seems to me the Australians are now, I reckon they've gone the other side too far. They're overdoing the good sportsmanship thing.
Well,
can you overdo it?
Oh, this is the thing. They keep doing it to the point where, there's all about a bit of intimidation in cricket. There always have been. The West Indies did it to us.
Yeah.
There's always the South Africans do it. And there's not a problem with that. It's when we got to the point where it was doing it. We were doing it even if we were beating a team by.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Against Bangladesh.
And Australia has a history. Like Bradman used to do that. He used to just ground teams into the. In one first. They'd made they were playing Essex or something on a tour match, and Australia had put on 701 runs and hadn't declared yet. Yeah. So Keith Miller, when he wandered out, because he was lower down the order at the time because he was bowler as well, obviously, and he hated Bradman. He thought cricket was a laugh.
It was a game.
He went out on purpose for a golden duck.
Yeah.
Because he was like, this is ridiculous. Yeah. This is just stupid. And I think there is a line there between being competitive and really wanting to win to just being obnoxious and we so often strayed in recent times into the obnoxious
and
thing. The outright the outright cheating, which that was what I mean. I've spoken to so many cricket pundits, journos, and ex-players about this over the last 6 months when I see them out or whatever. And off the record, they all say, "Oh, this wasn't the first time they did this," and they name about 10 other examples, including at Sheffield Shield level, involving New South Wales. So they all name it, but no one wants to go on the record with the details. So, and Cricket Australia know it because that's why they're not releasing any reports and why they're not letting Warner or Stephen Smith. So on the backdrop of all that, I've been just loving watching the Southern Stars. I've been watching, because one, it's on perfect time during the day because it's being played over in the West Indies. I've been watching the Southern Stars who've made and the Matildas as well, actually, and thinking, this is more entertaining. And they play with it. They don't play like the Australian cricket women's team don't play with a loving, we all love each other and it's all really nice. Alyssa Healy's been smacking every team off the park, as the opener. They play with a hard edge, but they're not dicks about it.
They don't. I mean, of course, they just don't have that obnoxious.
No, you get a sense they're really thrilled to be out there, and that's where I think.
But you wouldn't stuff around with them either.
They're not. They're not it's not all soft, touchy feely. They're absolutely they're ruthless, right? But they're ruthless in a sense of we're trying to win, but they also don't have that. I reckon the thing that wasn't so much that the Australian cricket team to me acted like it was all a bit of a chore.
Yeah.
The love of the game was not evident often, It
was like, they're paying me $1 million this year. I've got to play cricket, So but the only thing I thought, the reason I brought that up, they going a bit the other way, was when they played South Africa the other day, the amount, when Miller made his 100, the South African, every Australian on the field sort of ran up to him and touched gloves and shook his hand and patted him on the back. I thought, settle down, boys. You can give him the... what happened to just well batted, mate? Yeah. From backward of square. You don't have to run up and ruffle his hair.
He's not on your team.
Yeah, pat him on the arse like he's a
teammate.
A teammate. Settle down.
I know. There is
I'm glad you brought up the Southern Stars and Alyssa Healy. Watching her bat the other week, I was thinking, the other day, I thought, it would be an interesting exercise just to see how she would go playing in the men's team. Because she got a beautiful, technical batting action. And cricket's it's not like football. You're not going to throw Daisy Pearce into the AFL. But at cricket, it'll be an interesting exercise to see if they could handle it. Probably as a batsman, not necessarily as a bowler, but as a...
Because the men's speeds are so much
higher. I reckon she'd handle herself all right. Spin would be
interesting too.
Yeah, exactly.
I've been loving the women's T20 thing. It's been great, entertaining to watch. I mean, Australia have been creaming them, so it reminds me of the good old days of cricket. And the Matildas are amazing against Chile too. They came back 5-0 after losing the first game. Yeah. And that was just ridiculous.
Sam Kerr, how good is she?
Yeah.
I mean, she didn't have a day out the other day. She only kicked one of the 5 goals.
Only one.
Yeah, but normally you'd see if they'd won 5-0. She was a handy
decoy.
If you'd just seen the score 5-0, you'd think, Sam Kerr must have kicked 4 of those.
Yeah.
But, no, she's a star.
Yeah, it just shows if you put it on at a good time and the coverage is good and you start to watch it regularly, the best thing about all team sports is you follow the players and you get to like the team or individuals. So you go, wait for so-and-so to bat or something, you do all that. And that's the thing with women's sport, because you could never watch it. You could never form that connection. It was much harder. I know it's different
sports, but I'd rather watch Sam Kerr going around than Dave Warner, put it that way.
Yeah.
It just goes without saying, I guess, whether sport's involved or not. But
just avoid Dave Warner. One thing I'm interested to get your thoughts on is the NBL, which is, you've got to admit, going from strength to strength at the moment, but it's obviously getting a lot more television coverage. It's on Fox Sports and Channel 9 this season. It has been before, obviously, but they're doing a lot more, and they're doing a lot more of sort of trying to innovate and get greater access. So they've been filming the coaches' timeouts.
Yeah, I've been watching this. I must admit, don't get to watch all these other sports on TV as much, but I do watch a fair bit of the NBL.
Yeah,
the last 2 games, my boys they go to the games.
Yeah.
They don't want me there, obviously, but they go with their mates.
Yeah.
But I've been watching a fair bit of it, and they do get the cameras in nice and tight on the timeouts.
Well,
now,
that's been
which is really interesting.
It's been a specific, directive from the NBL to allow them to do that. But the problem is there's been a lot of swearing.
Yeah.
So I was listening the other day, one of the coaches just went off tap, and I was just like, "It's great."
Yeah.
But they were saying, "Oh no,
they're trying to attract the family audience."
Yeah. Yeah. And they're not fast enough to beat it, so all just went to air.
Yeah. I know it's terrific, but again,
that's it. It wasn't profanity filled.
Yeah. It'd be like it's like on the rare occasion during the season where the AFL teams let the cameras in to their 3/4 time speeches.
Yeah.
Every time the coaches do that, they're just treading very lightly.
Although a team's really struggling and going incredibly badly in the AFL when they let the cameras in to film their halftime or pre-game address.
Yeah.
Because you don't see. I mean, someone will probably correct me, but I've never seen Clark go do that in any great detail. But I remember, I knew it was the beginning when Mark Neal got them to come in and gave them all this incredible access and let them film his pre-game address.
Yeah.
Showed it live before the game. And after hearing him, I was like, no wonder they run out half asleep. It was just terrible. But the NBL's come out and said they're going to start, warned clubs about the language of the coast. Of the clubs of the during the quarter time. The timeouts. And a number of franchises apparently are annoyed about this because they want to fine them for foul language.
Yeah.
And they say the clubs are annoyed because the clubs say we didn't want to have cameras on our timeouts. The league did and told us we had to.
Yeah.
And now they're going to fine us
if we swear.
And these are emotional moments. I get all that. I mean, the occasional slip-up I understand, but you can talk without swearing.
Just. Just on this.
I like how you're not convinced.
I really want to hear Andrew Gay's letting rip.
No, he has too.
He's good at it,
Yeah. But yeah, it is funny though that they're going to start fining people.
Oh, exactly. It wouldn't have happened in Brian Goorjian's days. Geez, good Brian. He Fairtingham could take paint off a wall with some of his pre-match addresses.
Yeah.
When he was coaching the Boomers.
Well, Ben Brown coached the North Melbourne Giants, who's now the Philadelphia 76ers. So, imagine. I mean, there's nothing greater on the footy field when they're filming it and you're watching on television and the umpire usually calls something, makes a decision or something, and you can just lip read everything a player has said. Sometimes you don't need the sound at all.
Yeah, I can't remember who it was this year, but that exact scenario happened. I think it was with Razor Ray, and you could lip read the player, but you did hear Razor say, "Don't speak to me like that," and it immediately took you back to your childhood.
The NRL are considering 2 transfer windows in the season.
I thought their entire season was a transfer window.
This is kind of interesting because the AFL have talked about this mid-season trading.
Mid-season draft.
And I wonder whether the NRL have gone, all right, you're going to have, we've got one, you've got one, now we're going to have 2. It's like, how someone there would have been the first person that thought in the shaver business, we're going to put on a second blade. Yeah. And then someone else comes along and goes, all right, we'll see you second, put on a third.
Exactly.
And now we're up to what, like 19 or something?
Now they're like those things that they drag behind tractors to shred wheat.
Well, there was a famous Saturday Night Live fake commercial.
Yeah.
I think in the early 90s, which was a joke about those adding more blades. And it says, now with 6 blades. And then someone has brought up online, 15 years later or 20 years later, that there are on the market 6 blade.
Yeah.
So it's become the parody has become true.
Oh, there's no doubt. There's no question.
So the NRL is getting to the point where it's sort of like, can you just tell us when it's not a player trading window, transfer
that's
window?
That's my point. That's why I say they have a permanent trading window.
Just tell us when it's not.
Because the players saying, look, I'm playing the rest of the season with this team. Next year I'm playing with that team. And you may as well throw in 2 years' time, I'll probably be playing for the Storm.
Yeah.
You know?
So under this new scheme, clubs will be unable to announce player signings outside of the trade periods, which are penciled in for the State of Origin series and postseason. So they're really only having the one in and one out. Which I still find I think there's a balance between players move, because that means someone could move halfway through the year. So you could start at, Cronulla, move to West, and then start the start of the next season at the Storm.
I know.
In a year, you're playing really for 3 clubs.
It's just getting a bit too far.
Well, that's the thing. I'm all for, you're balancing 2 separate things, which is, I get loyalty is, an interesting word in sport because clubs preach it but then don't show it to players.
Yeah.
But there is something about a bit of consistency with your players, because the players are the club for a short period of time, and if they're just going all the time, it becomes, well, what are you really barracking for? And to not have your favourites.
Exactly. And they've been like this for a few years, the NRL. The one thing that gets me about the NRL, and this is the coaches. When a coach says quite openly that next year I won't be here next year, I'll be coaching this other club. It's like, how can you possibly take him seriously this whole year?
No, that's right.
You know he's still going to do it to the best of his ability in theory.
Yeah.
But it's just, it's like a lot of these things. I reckon you can't put it down to a scientific fact. It's just not a good look.
No.
No,
and I think, the other thing is, apparently Todd Greenberg, is the NRL CEO, has said that a lot of this is to help save clubs from salary cap mismanagement by tightening rules relating to back-ended contracts. So I don't think Todd's being very generous there, but he's basically taking away any excuse to be able to go, if you suddenly found out you're going to be in trouble, you've got 2 transfer windows to dump those players somewhere else.
Yeah. If you want to breach the salary cap, we'll give you every opportunity.
What about hiring some better accountants who can actually structure contracts okay? The other thing is, though, I want to see if you agree with this, right? So I've got a theory. It's not a theory, an observation that powerful sports administrators, and you see our politicians do this too, right? They think if they say something that makes it true, even if all the evidence is the complete
politician written all over it. Yeah.
Politicians say it, but it's becoming like they almost doing it more brazenly. It's not. It's almost lying, but it's more like if by force of will, if I say this will be the case. So David Peever said cricket's never been in better shape than it is right now, and you're like, really?
The entire country just slapped their own forehead.
Yeah, but he was like, he obviously either truly believes that, or they do this thing where they think if I say it's true, it'll convince
people will fall for it.
Or they'll have to start I'm so powerful, they'll have to start believing me. Yeah. And they don't get that. They just come across looking, because I reckon you can spin things. It's like if you're arguing with someone, if you're arguing with your partner, you can spin things a little one way and a little the next, so from the truth, a little each way, but not too far. If you stray too far, you stray into, well, that's just patently ludicrous. Yeah. And what they do is they don't get...
I have strayed into that.
Well, we all have at some point. Yeah. But you know what I mean? It's like they don't know that, you got to, you can put the best spin on the truth to suit you as good as you can possibly can, even if it's bad news. But you can't just... Something terrible happens and then claim it was good. Because that's just spinning too far. No one can spin that far, you know. So Greenberg said he believes the transfer windows will grow on fans.
Right.
The fans will really enjoy the opportunity to have a structured window, he said, and it'll be better understood by the fans potentially outside of the game too.
Well, I know whenever I go to an NRL game, you hear the people going in to the stadium saying, I just wish we had a more structured window,
But I just love that he's like...
crap.
I just love that he says it'll grow on fans. Yeah. It's going to grow on you.
Yeah.
So I acknowledge I acknowledge you hate this. We're doing it anyway.
Yeah.
But don't worry, you'll grow to like it.
That's a leaf out of the AFL's book. They do that, but not quite as blatantly as this.
In fairness, I think sometimes the AFL don't pretend to care if you'll like it.
Yeah, that's true. Or they don't know. They don't. I know the AFL sometimes. If you point out to them that actually the vast majority of football fans not only don't like this idea, they vehemently hate it.
Yeah, yeah.
And they sort of look at you and...
Yeah, they're a bit taken aback.
Really?
By it.
Really? How could they think that? This is what we're going to do.
Well, the NRL are saying that they they believe it will grow on fans. I think the AFL just assume you already like it.
Yeah. So when are they doing that? Not next year, the year after, perhaps?
2020 season. It's looking as early as that. So I'm a big proponent of once the season starts, the season's set.
Yeah.
And the reason for that is like attrition, injuries, as bad as they are and annoying they are, no one likes to see them. That's part of the sport. Like, that's part of what it is. It's holding a squad together. It's all those things.
Especially a physical contact sport like rugby league or football.
Yeah. And every transfer window, all you see is the good players leave the bad teams for the good teams.
Yeah.
So if you add another one, that's just going to speed that up because halfway through the year, it happens in baseball every year. Everyone goes, well, we're not going to make the playoffs, so let's sell off all our players and we'll become sellers in the mid-season market.
Again. Yeah.
And then the top teams who are making a run go, right, well, we're short a pitcher and we're short a shortstop, so let's go and get them. And so they get better. And then now it's meant to be because they trade future prospects and draft picks and all that sort of stuff, so it sort of is meant to even out. But I find with the AFL, the draft isn't, to rebuild through the draft solely, isn't as effective as everyone makes out.
No.
So I just look at this I know this is in the NRL, but I know from an AFL point of view, it just speeds up. I think it'll just speed up the badly managed teams.
Well, that's right.
Will be able to badly manage themselves out of existence even quicker.
If any club needs a rebuild, it's Gold Coast. But they've got the perfect opportunity this year to have a good crack at trying to rebuild through the draft because they've got like 3 in the top 5 picks. But as you say, quite possibly within 2 years, most of those kids they'll have gone to Hawthorn or
well, they know that the minute the minute the transfer window opens, half their team tries to jump out of it.
Climb out of it.
That's
and
basically
even
all
before
it
it
is.
opens, they're inside with a
They're
brick.
knocking on they're inside throwing stones.
Yeah, exactly.
This is a story you picked up, which I liked a lot. In New York, in the NFL, there was a Jets fan, New York Jets. To give it context, the Jets are a long-suffering. They're sort of like the Bulldogs if the Bulldogs hadn't have pulled off that miracle grand final.
I've always been a New York Jets fan. I've always thought, well, it's sort of...
Is that why you're wearing a Green Bay Packers top?
Yes, it is.
As you say
I actually am wearing a Green Bay Packers top because my wife bought it for me overseas a while ago, and I said, that's the Packers. I don't follow it. But she said, but your team's green, isn't it? And I said, yeah. I said, yeah, but it's a bit like giving a Richmond supporter an Essendon jumper and saying, but it's predominantly black.
Yeah, it's got a lot of black in it.
But I think it's appropriate that I barrack for the Jets because they're a bit like Melbourne. They sort of promise you the world and never deliver.
And they've been incredible. And also, it's one of those teams that sort of, the Mets are like this a bit as well, in that everything that can go wrong will go wrong.
And then you've got the Yankees shadow of
the Yankees and the Giants.
The Giants.
Who always seem to do well. So
and the Jets, the New York Jets, always seem to have the most delinquent of supporters too. If anyone's going to get arrested for fighting or something, it'll be a Jets fan. It won't be a Giants fan.
So a Jets fan was caught drink driving after the team's humiliating home loss to Buffalo on Sunday. And he told cops he got wasted because of the Jets' failures.
Yeah.
He said, I drank too much because the Jets suck. To the police when pulled over.
And I reckon every sports fan in the world's going, mate, I'm with you.
No
get
jury,
it totally.
take it to court, you got to get off.
Yeah, no one will find you guilty.
Christopher Grayshock, 57, of West Milford, New Jersey,
doesn't help, but
allegedly said to the cops, I drank too much because the Jets suck. He said that he just watched his team get trounced by the Bills when he allegedly rear-ended a car.
And the Buffalo Bills are crap as well and have been for decades.
Yeah, so losing to them. When the cops found him, he was lying in the grass next to his ride on Route 23, said police. He tried to stand up to talk, but he stumbled and later failed a sobriety test with a blood alcohol content of 0.13. cop said. That's a lot.
Yeah, that's giving it a good nudge.
That's really a... Police searched his car.
Although they do serve full-strength beer at American football games.
Now, this is where I thought, is this Serge's long-lost brother? Police searched his car and they found a 3/4 gone bottle of whiskey and a partially smoked joint, along with rolling papers, as well as rolling papers. He was charged with drinking while under the influence, reckless driving, possession of marijuana, possessions of drug paraphernalia, and having an open container of alcohol in a motor vehicle.
And who knew that was even a crime?
Yeah, the Jets lost 41-10.
Yeah, they are rubbish.
In Greylock was didn't return a request for comment to the newspaper, but was shown grinning in a mugshot.
He was still pissed.
He was.
Obviously.
Oh, I tell you what, that's why I've never... I don't know, I've been driven to drink by my football team, but I've never felt a compulsion to then drive.
No, I've never felt a compulsion to drive home, rear-end a car, and then pass out on the nature strip next to the car. Yeah. That's probably pushing it a bit far. But as I said, every sports person in the world or sports fan can relate to being driven to drink by a poor performance by your team.
My only sense is, given what was in his car, the whiskey and the dope, how high he was, that this probably would have happened even if the Jets had won.
Yeah, well, that's
with
true.
This guy.
Yeah,
I'm not picking up the seat.
As I say, he doesn't sound like one of life's winners, young Justin.
I didn't get it. I think he might have a substance problem.
He's definitely a Jets fan, not a Giants.
Yeah, you're not looking at that going, gee, there's just a normal guy and just look what's happened to him.
Just one thing that I noticed this morning too, is maybe going back to the best of three grand final. Did you hear about what happened over the weekend in the EPL over in England?
No.
About the coin toss before the game? The two captains came out with the ref.
Yeah, yeah.
The ref put his hand in his pocket, didn't have a coin.
Yes, I did hear that, yeah.
And so he said to the two captains, let's go paper, rock and scissors. And that's how they decided which end they were kicking. And the referee's now been suspended for 2 games.
But I think that's a better way.
Well, paper, rock and scissors, or
it's a bit more. It's got a bit of skill to it.
Either that or eeny, meeny, mighty, mo. Don't
get the AFL thinking, because before you know, it's a quick game of tag, hide and seek.
Bit of British bulldog.
We're having a game of AFLX to decide the toy instead of a
bit of British bulldog across the centre square.
I actually think
you got to start in zones.
He should have bought a coin, but you kind of go, well, he thought of a quick way to fix it.
Yeah. I think he's been hardly done by myself, the referee, but never mind.
At least he didn't do the, I'm thinking of a number, who can guess the closest?
It's between 0 and 10. And the first bloke's going to say 7. Yeah. And he'll go wrong.
Yeah. then the next guy goes 2 and he goes, that's also wrong. I wasn't even thinking of a number.
We could be here all afternoon. 9, 6.
I'm guessing of a number between 1 and 1 billion. Go. Anyway, on that note, we'll go and let's go and play some scissors, paper, rock for a few hours.
Shall do.
We'll see you next week.